right. Hey, hello, everyone, and welcome again to this edition of Game Changers. And first of all, before we get started, I do want to thank our friends at the Amazon Fulfillment Center. They've been so good to this chamber. They've been so good to the community during this COVID-19. So thank you so much, Amazon Fulfillment Centers, for joining us and sponsoring this edition. And I can't think of anybody I like having on more. Mario Andretti, I have to tell you, you're a phenomenal person. You have I was thinking last night, I was reading once again through your bio, the career you've had, that you're internationally known, and yet you're kind and to everybody. And I just want to tell you, you're a good person.
Thank you. You're very kind. Thanks for having me on, Tony.
Someone must have raised you right, I think, Mario.
Of course. I had the greatest parents in the world.
Did you? It's funny. One of the things that we didn't touch on when I talked to you before, and that really struck me, and that is that as a child, you, like many people in that era, had to pick up and move your entire family and leave behind things that your father, your mother, you all worked very hard for. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Mario?
Well, actually, we were, we were affected directly by the war, and I was born when the war broke out in 1940, and the zone that where I was born in, the peninsula of Istria, the northeastern side of Italy, after the war, Italy lost the war, and that was next to Yugoslavia, and so it was a choice for us to succumb to hardline communism, or my parents had to make a decision, and hardline communism, you don't own anything. My dad was the administrator of all the family holdings, and he administrated over 2,000 acres of land, and so anyway, bottom line is the choice was to move out of the area to maintain the Italian citizenship, and we did. We were in a refugee camp in our own country for 7.5 years in Lucca in Tuscany. And then we had an uncle on my mother's side that lived, he was here in Nazareth. He came to West Virginia, then he moved to Nazareth. He was working for, one of the cement mills, and he suggested to my dad, why don't you come to America? This was in 1952. 3 years later, my dad applied for visas. 3 years later, the visas came through, and so it was decision time. Dad says, well, we're going to America, maybe for 5 years and then go back. So, and that's when we came over in 1955.
And that took a lot of guts, I would assume, to make that move. How old were you then, Marion?
I was 15 years old then.
15?
Yeah, I was born in 1940, so 55. And I'm like 47 now, so.
I mean, when I go to Italy, it's an amazing place. You are 47, I know that. I thought I had you down for 48, but anyway, when I go to Italy, it's such a beautiful place. So during that time, when you said you were in a refugee camp, I mean, tough memories are actually, it sounds like your dad kept the family together, worked hard, and you just said you had the best parents in the world. Maybe that's why you feel that way.
Well, yeah, for sure, because my dad could always provide for us. And, as kids, I have a twin brother, Aldo, and an older sister, Anna Maria. And the kids, we never suffered. We were always well-dressed. We always went to school and did all the things. My dad made sure that he provided for us properly. And so when we came over, obviously, for kids, it's easy to adapt, and you make friends, you go to school, and no matter where you are, it's easy for the kids. The toughest part was from my parents, of course. They were both in their 40s, and their new way of life, was something really, really to get used to, the language barrier and all that. So, but they overcame all of it, and America is great. We're the product of the true American dream. Everything that I dreamed about as a young lad, as a teenager when I was in Italy, about becoming a race driver, probably would have been impossible if we would have stayed there. because of situations after the war. It took a long time for, those countries, to really regroup and get, to the level that they needed to be. And from our standpoint, all the opportunities that you could only hope for came true by coming to America. And again, I was able to pursue that, and Aldo did, and I couldn't have asked for anything more out of life, quite honestly.
Yeah, the American dream. When did you realize, Mario, that on the racing side that you were? I think I told you last time we spoke. I remember you at the Allentown Fair, and people cheering. And it was early in your career. We had talked about how you were a lap behind everybody, and came back around. And when did you realize, I'm pretty good at this?
Well, I mean, all along, when Aldo and I started in 1959, right here at the Nazareth track, I mean, Aldo and I, lucky as could be, we won our very first race. Now, that doesn't mean that we were, where we wanted to be at that point, but it was a very auspicious beginning. And again, Aldo was not as lucky with his career. He had several injuries, and 10 years later, he had to stop. But my career started in '59 and never stopped. I mean, my last race was in 2000 from 1959, and and along the way, I only missed 2 races because of injury. So I'm looking at about 900 races in my life. So. Again, as far as knowing when you have arrived and so forth, I mean, you go step by step, along the way, and as you feel you conquer, like you go in first grade, second grade, if you pass, you're okay, I belong there. That's really, you're testing yourself along the way, always, because wherever you are, whatever level you are, there's always, somebody out there that excels, that you have to, okay, you know what, for me to be able to bring home results, I have to better the individual that's the best. And there's always a challenge. I mean, you never run out of challenges. But that's the beauty of it, too. It keeps you motivated, of course. But, the fact that if you can win in any division, you feel, okay, I've reached this level. I think I'm ready to go on. And then when you reach the top, then the trick is to try to be able to still perform at that level against the very best that the sport can provide. But these are all the things that's what you look forward to, that's what you work for. And that's where the rewards come, if you're able to achieve, some of the goals. And I've been very fortunate in my career that always set high goals, ambitious goals for myself. In fact, I assure you that many times I wouldn't dare express it loudly, but in my own mind, I was always a dreamer and always went for the very top. And somehow we're able to kind of get there, and along the way. So that's why I say this all the time. That's why I feel that I've been so blessed.
Yeah, you really have. I think the other thing is, I think a lot of people think of you as, for me, Indy 500, Indy cars, but you've got an amazing career, from NASCAR to all kinds, open wheel. What did you prefer? Were you most comfortable in the Indy type car?
Well, my specialty was open wheel, single seaters, like Indy cars or Formula One. But in our sport, there are different levels of disciplines, and I enjoy sports prototypes and long distance races as well. There's beautiful sports cars, and I had some good luck in stock cars in NASCAR and stock cars in USAC. So again, I kind of I was pretty curious. I wanted to sort of try to experience all of it, at the top level, and I think again that's where I derive probably most of my satisfaction out of being able to do that, and not just to race, but to win at those levels.
were you accepted at NASCAR when you moved over? I just wonder, if they felt like, you belong here, you're allowed to be here, kind of thing.
Well, there's always that type of thing, that you feel, okay, I'm not in my regular sandbox, I'm playing in somebody else's game. But, you earn the respect, and I think I feel very much at home wherever I go. Today I have friends in NASCAR, close friends. I have friends in Formula One. It goes sports prototype, wherever I go on a dirt track. So it's a big family, and again, it's all about going out there and doing your job, respect your competitors, obviously, and that's it, But if somehow you come away where it's not your specialty and you're able to win, it may not be received very well at the moment, but later on, they can't, there's got to be some respect there, and then that's reciprocated as well, so that's how it works.
When I think of how things change, when I think again of being at fairgrounds, I remember being in the infield, seeing your car, and when I even think of that track, the safety relative to then compared to today, I mean, the cars were a lot less safe, obviously. And I think, as I recall, the only thing that the fairgrounds, I'm talking the Allentown Fairgrounds, the Allentown Fairgrounds, the only thing they had was a cement wall with a little bit of a fencing above it, but that was the whole thing relative to safety.
Well, the sport has evolved, as you can imagine. I mean, it's, I think the safety, even still today, is still a work in progress. You're always learning. And quite honestly, I think it had to be us drivers to be able to organize in a way that we would start to demand certain safety aspects, features, not only on the track, but also on the cars, because not on the tracks, but on the cars, almost every safety feature is a performance penalty. So it has to be regulated into the rules, put into the rules, so everybody has to have it. And so everybody benefits, but then there's no penalty. And it took a while, to really get to the level that we're enjoying today. I mean, I'll give you just a quick, in the 60s, this decade of the 60s, the chance of survival for a driver at the level that I was driving was probably 40% at best. And then it got maybe a little better, but as far as, really, really having a chance to retire on your own terms, it was pretty slim. Every time when I see Foyt, when AJ Foyt and I meet, the way we look at each other, say, I can't believe we're still standing here. You know what I mean? Because we lost, the majority of our friends, during those decades. But today, I'm knocking on wood, I always do. But today, the chance of any of our professional drivers to retire on their own term is like 99.8%. So we've come a long way. And again, I think even you got to think about the fact that the sport has become more and more commercial as years went by, and you got into the decades of the 80s, especially where the sponsorships and so on and so forth, just became got to the level that was very meaningful. And I always say this that as it became more commercial, you have companies spending millions of dollars to be part of the team and fund the team. They don't want to go to funerals. You know what I mean? They don't want negatives. There's no bigger negative than fatality. So the safety aspect played big into that area too. And so again, the sport had to evolve properly, which it did. And today it's enjoying the safest times ever. You can see, even in NASCAR, some of the incredible accidents that you see, the cars on fire and everything. The guy walks out and cheers, waves to the crowd. So, and that's a beautiful thing. Nobody can enjoy, seeing anybody get hurt, obviously.
So you've been in races during the race when people have died, and you've lost people.
I lost my closest friends, my teammates, in the race. The race when I won the World Championship in Italy, Italian Grand Prix, at at the start of the race, my teammate was killed, and I had my best friend, Riverside, killed just before I went out to qualify. I can go on and on and on. I mean, it's terrible, but that was what we had to deal with in those years, and again, the sport, we knew the sport could be very cruel, as rewarding as it could be, but also could be very cruel. And something had to be done about it, and it did, but it took a long time. It took decades to get to the level that we're enjoying today.
Mario, you're so grounded, but it had to be hard at times when you were driving all over the world, in France and in some amazing places. Were you ever surprised that people that wanted to meet you, or because I get the sense that you were never filled with yourself? I mean, it's hard when you're a young person not to. But were you ever surprised that any famous person that was dying wanted to meet you, or you got to meet?
Well, as you travel, as you're exposed, obviously there are opportunities of people, yes, that you want to meet. You want to meet the Pope. You want to meet some kings. You want to meet some celebrities and all of that. And many times you get those opportunities, and then it's it's just something that's very. I mean, it's very nice when people come to you when they want to meet you as well. But I've raced in 6 continents. And again, I had the pleasure to be able to experience all the different cultures and all the beautiful things about life. And again, these are the things that the sport gave to me, and it's extremely precious.
But you always came home to Nazareth. That's the part that I think is absolutely amazing. You obviously you could have lived anywhere in the world.
Yeah, it's quite honestly, I'm quite happy, and I'm living here by choice. There were many times when I had some pressure, to live somewhere else closer to most of the teams that I drove for were on the West Coast or whatever. But and even when I raced for Lotus in England, they said, "Well, you should be living in Europe." Well, you know what? I was traveling back and forth to Europe, on the Concorde. I could get there in 3 hours. That sort of thing. So I knew what to do with my life as far as the travel aspect. I've had airplanes. I mean, my first airplane I had in 1968. So I armed myself with something that allowed me to do all the things I wanted to do and still have a life, bring the family along and all of that. I could be racing in California and not be sleeping in my bed, that night, at home. So, all of those things allow me again, to do all the move around as much as I did. It was all part of a tool that I needed. And I think it helped me keep the family together, keep us together as much as possible. All those things. So it's just a matter of, just looking at the big picture and making the best of it, as far as, because it's the sport, like any professional sport, is so incredibly demanding. And there are important things outside of your sport, which are family also. And then, so, like I said, I always arm myself with the best situation possible. And again, I could travel anywhere. Sometimes I go back and forth to Europe twice in 1 week.
Mario, just for people that would be curious, because again, all the people, who are some famous types that you really enjoyed, that you got friendly with, that you really were great people?
Well, there are many. I mean, what can I say? One of the Spanish Grand Prix, and King Juan Carlos, presented me the trophy, and then we spent time at his vacation villa, with the family, things like that. I mean, it's you're in Monaco, and you're the Prince Rainier, and that's where I got to meet Grace Kelly, and we talked about it because, hey, Princess Grace, I said, I'm your neighbor, because she was originally from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I had Lady Gaga driving, in a 2-seater, behind me at the when I started, it was in front. I started at the 100th anniversary of the Indianapolis 500, a couple of years ago, and things like that. I mean, it's there are many people that obviously are very, very interesting that you have the opportunity to meet for sure. I could name quite a few.
Isn't it interesting to find out when you meet them?
I even met Larry Holmes. Good guy. Big guy.
I want to ask you one last question, and that was it exciting this year for you at Indy, considering another Andretti involved in that incredible race?
Well, yeah, I was excited to see Marco, just be on pole for that race. And it was interesting is that, I drive the two-seater. I don't know if you see the photo right behind me here. And I start the race. I'm the first one to go flat out until I reach the back end, then they give the green. But guess who was with me as a passenger this year was Michael. So there were Michael, Marco, and myself. We were the three of us on the front row there, and those are just such precious moments from a family standpoint, and with a lot of pride on top of it. But those are unforgettable moments that really, obviously makes it all worthwhile.
All right, before I lose you, I'm going to bring Lauren in. She's got a question for you, and then we'll let you go. But go ahead, Lauren. It's all yours. I hope you're enjoying this.
Thank you so much, Tony, and thank you, Mario, for chatting with us. It is so nice to learn from you. And you had a career that you said started in '59. It spanned decades. Throughout that time, did you have a role model, and why did you admire them?
Well, the role models are the ones that individuals that you want to emulate someday. I started out with when I was a young teenager in Italy, and there was a world champion at the time, Alberto Ascari, for Ferrari, and as a young lad, I'm looking at, oh my goodness, that's who I would like to be like, Alberto Ascari. And then when you move on, and you arrive yourself at the level of the sport that I wanted to be. You reach the top level. There's okay, so I'll give you an example. When I arrived to the top of IndyCar, it was AJ Foyt. And I figured, man, that's the man that I have to beat. And so obviously, that they give you all the incentives, to be able to go after. And because of individuals like that, you are better. You work toward obviously improving your abilities and so on and so forth. So again, along the way, I had several. There's always somebody that I felt it was the champion at the time. Somebody that was so-called the yardstick, and those were my idols.
And then you became friends with them, which is amazing in its own.
Yes, that's the beautiful part about it.
Lauren, we're almost out of time. You got one more question.
I do have one more question. So every time you talk about Nazareth, I hear the pride in your voice. What is your favorite part about your hometown and living in the Valley?
Well, it's just a beautiful place to be. I mean, it's got everything that I need from my standpoint. I got great neighbors, wonderful people that I know. When I had kids, I had wonderful schools, and we're still a beautiful clean air. And then we can only about an hour away from, an hour and a half from New York, Philadelphia, wherever you want to be, and close proximity to airports. If you want to. Should be travel to Europe and all of that. So, a lot of things actually work for me. We have a place up in the Poconos. Again, I don't want to be anywhere else, and I never will go anywhere else.
Mario's a fast driver. Did you ever get pulled over for speeding? When you said to drive to New York, it made me think, I wonder if you ever did. And people are like, hey, this is Mario Andretti.
No, I don't get pulled over for speeding.
He drives the speed limit, Tony.
Mario,
always drive 2 miles an hour under the speed limit.
There you go. Mario, I just want to say, I was thinking as we were talking that at the take it, we got some commotion here.
We can edit that out, Tony. Don't worry.
Mario, I guess what I wanted to say is this, and that is that my in my house, my dad, we had, there were three people that were, were godlike, and it was Joe DiMaggio, Mario Andretti, and Nino Benvenuti, who was a boxer from Italy.
Yeah, I knew Nino. He was from my part of the world where I was born.
Yeah.
Nino was from
And
Trieste.
being the middleweight champ, I remember watching that, so it was an incredible time. But I guess on behalf of everyone, you've done so much for not only the Lehigh Valley, brought attention to us, but for so many people. You're a great guy, and you've been blessed. But sometimes I think people are blessed because they appreciate the blessings they have.
Well, Lehigh Valley has been a beautiful home for me, and so Lehigh Valley has done a lot for me, and so I'm thankful for that.
All right, hey, thank you everyone for being with us for this version of Game Changers. I do want to thank again our friends from Amazon Fulfillment Center. Mario Andretti, thank you so much. Lauren, thank you. Lauren, I'll let you wrap us up. Go ahead.
Thanks, Tony, and thank you, Mario, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Your racing career really put the Valley on the map, and you've made a lasting impact on our Lehigh Valley and changed the game for our community. So we thank you.